So welcome everyone to your level 1 pillar 5 meeting. Folks are still hopping into the meeting. So if you see me playing with my mouse, it's because I'm just letting everyone in. Our meditation today is very beautiful. It's ancient invocations from the Ni lineage. And Dr. Mao will share more about what an invocation is, what it's for. And before we jump into our understanding of invocation, I want to share one more element of a traditional Taoist altar with you. So we've covered many different aspects of the Ni lineage traditional Taoist altar, and this is something to give you support as you meditate. And so this is one of my favorite aspects of the altar, and it is water. And I have here the glass that I use for my altar. I use a beautiful etched drinking glass. And I've seen on altars other beautiful ways to hold water. For example, this is from another altar in my home, and it was given to me by my grandparents, who I love a great deal. So that energy is part of this little vase, but they acquired it from a local artist at a Native American reservation. So it also has some beautiful energy in the handmade earthen quality of it. And so water is really important in so many different ways. On the East Coast, they've had the experience of having too much water, the East Coast of the United States, and what that can do. And here in Los Angeles, we have had on and off the experience of drought. And lately we've actually had some rain. And so in my garden, just outside, all of a sudden, these plants start popping up, coming back to life, plants I haven't seen in years. And they just needed a little water, a little nourishment to come back to life. It's such a powerful element. And as I understand it, in fact, we are about 70% water. So we're very influenced by this element. And this element is also connected to the moon. So entire oceans are swayed by the gravity of the moon, a very subtle yin force. And without this balancing energy of the moon, our tides would be thrown off kilter. We'd be in quite a bit of disarray. The moon is more subtle, but very influential and important to the waters in our body and on our planet. So when it comes to the water on your altar, it has a beautiful interplay with words. So water can be influenced with words, and I love to reference the science, or as some would call it, the pseudoscience of Dr. Emoto. So I'll share first one image of Dr. Emoto's. He was a Japanese scientist and person who left our world in 2014, but he made a big project of studying the crystals in water as they begin to freeze. And what he found is that the water was profoundly influenced by words. So I'm sure you automatically can take this to the next level and understand that we also are very influenced by words. So I'll just share a few more of his images with you. And it's very interesting to see, for example, here, how, I hope that this is coming through, how different words affect water in different ways. So look at thank you versus you make me sick, or love and appreciation versus thank you, or the water molecule before prayer or after prayer. So you can really see how influenced by words water can be. And of course, we know that we're influenced by words, human beings, but maybe there's even more to this influence than we realize. Maybe even at the cellular level, we're influenced by words and their meaning. And so Dr. Emoto also experimented with different languages. And it would seem that these water molecules speak every language. They responded similarly, regardless of the language. It's really the vibration that the word carries. And perhaps it's our shared consciousness that gives universal meaning to these sounds, to these words. So when you're practicing invocation and you're perhaps saying these beautiful ancient words out loud, you can consider how it's influencing your body, your energy, not only your mind, but also your molecules. And it's also influencing the water on your altar. So what would you do with this water after meditation? It's meditated with you. A wonderful thing you can do, and it should always be drinking water, is you can drink it. And notice the flavor of your meditation practice influence. You can also dip your fingers in the water. And this is a practice done in spiritual traditions of many different kinds. You can dip your fingers in the water and then sprinkle yourself or sprinkle your space with this water to influence the vibration of your space with your meditation practice. So just as your words will influence your water, they'll also influence your entire being. And I feel that this is an appropriate pairing as we adventure into the exploration of these ancient invocations. And invocations to me are almost like invitations. We're inviting energy into our being, positive, uplifting, empowering energy. If you've meditated in the past, you might be familiar with affirmations. So these are similar to affirmations, but they're more like the original. Affirmations are a more modern spin on the ancient practice of invocation. It's also a little bit like prayer because you're inviting a divine energy into your being. So I'll let Dr. Mao, who is more of an authority, continue with this exploration. Dr. Mao, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Oh, it's such a pleasure, and thank everybody for tuning in and for your dedicated commitment to your meditation practice. And that was a very appropriate intro, kind of talking about how messages can be transmitted through a different medium, including water, right? So obviously all the elements in the world that we're familiar with can transmit intention and messaging. And when we talk about the most basic fundamental way that messages are transmitted via humans is through energy, our chi. And so when we are cultivating our chi, such as through our meditation practice or practicing qigong and tai chi chuan, we are able to literally have an intention and transmit it through our energy to another person or to a natural outcome. And this, interestingly, has been documented with the experiments of brainwaves and how when intense meditation can produce not only physical effects in your body, intense focus, but also in people in the same room or room next door or farther away, such as in distance healing. Now, today's pillar is about invocation. And, Olivia mentioned about the affirmation as a more of a modern, new age way of describing, perhaps similar to invocation. But I think it's important to know the difference between the two. And whereas affirmation is, in the context of, let's say, form of a prayer or a metaphysical technique. And what you're doing is an affirmation, you're focusing on a positive outcome rather than a negative situation. Let's say, for example, a person who's experiencing some form of illness may then focus a prayer or affirmation on the desired state of health, the outcome, right? And to affirm this desired intention as if already happened, rather than identifying the illness and then asking God for help to eliminate it. Invocation, on the other hand, comes from the Latin verb invocare, to call upon, invoke, to give. And, the definition of that also can take the form of a supplication or prayer, command or conjuration, or its self-identification with certain spirits. So, interestingly, in the Taoist tradition, invocation is, it contains all of that definition, but really it's an actual command. When you invoke an action, it's a command. And so it's a very, and it's interesting because I think for most people, the idea of commanding seems rather forceful. Like, who am I to command somebody, or even, let's say, the spirit world to come to my assistance? But that's more or less precisely what invocation is about. Invocation is a command for awakening or an action or awareness. So you will see in the invocation that we'll be practicing today that what it's doing is that the invocation we are reciting has to do with commanding the spirits within you and to certain action. So, for example, the command or the invocation begins, for today, and we're going to go through it in the meditation practice. But for example, divine nature of wholeness. Whose divine nature are we talking about? Well, of course, we're talking about the divine nature within you, the spirit within you. So what we're commanding is we're commanding your spirit, inner spirit, your Shen. And so the follow-up to the divine nature of wholeness is remove distraction from the ears and eyes to keep my energy full, my spirit whole. Keep my mind from wandering. The subtle body is like nature in heaven. It receives all and holds nothing, like a vessel, right? So these are simply commands. They are not the same as prayers or affirmations. These are commands. And we can continue, for example, let's say, divine nature of peaceful mindedness, flowing smooth and free. So should my mind be kept clear of sticky impediments and keep the same innocence inside as out. This is a command for your spirit to practice exactly as such. So I hope this kind of brief introduction and perhaps a definition of the difference between affirmation, prayer, invocation, so forth, that you can see that prayer is actually seeking help from the divine. Affirmation is, projecting into the future for a positive outcome. Whereas invocation is an actual command, and the command can go to a spirit, the divine, or within you. And that's the power rests within the invocation process. Any questions before we begin our practice today?
Dr. Mao, I'd like to ask something that comes up often in our groups, and I see that Susan also has a question. We'll be going through a number of invocations. Is it okay to take just one invocation each day as opposed to going through all of them every day?
Yes, excellent question. And yes, you can work on one invocation, or you can work on 3, or you can work on them all. So the idea here is that each one of these will have special appeal to you at a certain time. That's maybe more apropos to what you're going through. And so, yes, by all means, focus on the one that seems to be more applicable right now.
Thank you, Dr. Mao. Susan, do you want to go ahead? And then Arthur? Oh, no? Okay. Was that your question? Okay. Arthur, go ahead.
Yeah, Dr. Mao, can you clarify what spirits mean? Because I understand spirit. When you say spirits, are they individual entities? And I read in one of Master Lee's books that spirits are related to chi. Is that correct?
So it's a good question, Arthur. Spirits, when I talk about spirits, I talk about both spirit within you, which we commonly call Shen. It also encompasses Hun, which is your soul. So there are actually numerous spirits within your being, and they do their work via chi, energy. And you can say that they are a convergence of energy, because that's what spirits are. But the difference is energy is not consciousness, but spirits have consciousness. So that's the difference. And and then there are also the divine spirits, the immortals and others. And so when you're doing invocation, you're invoking to a certain action, right? But the invocations that we're doing today is invoking and commanding the spirit within you to act, to action and to alignment and to cultivate certain virtues that you are working on.
Okay, that's clarified. That's good. That clarifies things. So are they're part of our innate nature, in other words.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Okay. So it's not something external, but it's within us.
Yeah, today we're working purely internal. To invoke spirits outside of you, that takes a much higher level of development. But for right now, we just need to deal with what's within us.
Yeah, no problems. Thank you very much. Thank you.
It might be helpful on this topic, Arthur and Dr. Mao, if you agree, that I can share the spirits that correspond with the 5 elements to help understand kind of what that, how that works and how that energy flows. It's really unique in my understanding to the Taoist tradition, and it was really mind-blowing for me to begin to consider myself not as me, but rather as a community of probiotics and many different endemic energies that are part of being a human being. Would that be helpful if I share that, Dr. Mao and Arthur?
Well, most definitely.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Rosaline, yes, good to see you. Go ahead. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you. Thank you. So can you say a few words about why we should feel very comfortable commanding our spirits? I don't know exactly what we're going to command them to do yet, but yeah, just say a few words about, are we're entitled to do this and they're just our spirits, or because it is a strong word, as you've said.
Yes, of course. Well, who's going to be the driver? Are you going to be the driver? Because here's what happens when you're not the driver of your spirit, your Shen, then it will drive you. And so what happens is that sometimes you may act in ways in which you may not intend or understand. And because our spirit picks up so much messaging all over the place, everywhere. Like, if you sit and watch news every night for 1 hour, then the national favorite thing to do, to watch news for an hour before bedtime. Guess what happens? So the spirit absorbs all that bad news, goes to bed, and then all night you have nightmares. And you don't sleep well. You wake up, you're exhausted, and you do this every single night, and you wake up exhausted every day. You don't know why. So, it's important that you have an ability to command your spirit. Now, you will appreciate the commands. The commands are not in any way negative. It's basically like, okay, let me just give you some other invocation we'll be doing, right? So here, how about this one here? Okay. The divine nature of perfect harmony. The calm power derived from my daily practice can transform what seems to be a disaster into a blessing. Learn this, and I shall be qualified to sit in the seat of the lotus, looking deep within myself. Again, these are commands to your spirit to look and the attribution to the spirit's divine nature, divine nature, divine nature, divine nature. So you're speaking to your spirit, which is the divine nature. And with all these words, and again, once we start, you're going to appreciate that the word of command versus, oh, it's nice to just read it. Very different feeling. You can read a book and you read these same words. And when we practice in meditation, in the invocation, the effect is very different. You will feel it palpably. And so again, I would ask that you approach this with an open mind. We're not going to poison your spirit. We're not going to ask your spirit to do anything that would violate the nature, the positive nature of your spirit. And you'll appreciate that all of these invocations are there to help you evolve and grow spiritually. So that's what the invocation's about. And invocations are a really important part of the Taoist, tradition, meditation, because as you get higher level of proficiency, then yes, let's say, I've told the story of when I encountered the 3 bears in Yosemite, the mama bear with 2 cubs, and I was caught in with the cubs between me and the mama bear. It was early morning, I was by myself, and I stood up to think I was going to scare the bears. And it turns out the mama bear stood up, and she was much bigger than me. And so at that moment, I had to invoke the protective divine spirit of Leve to protect me, because I didn't know what else I could do. And so I slowly backed up towards the end of the ravine. And then I just, they were still watching me as if it's kind of frozen in time. I turned around and ran up the mountainside until I got to safety. And, and to me, it was a moment of being able to command its spirit to protect me. And I've had several other close call incidents in my life in which I've had to invoke the divine to protect me, and has always allowed me to get to safety. So we're starting at baby steps. Let's just learn to command our spirit first before you try to command other spirits. Now, can you command spirits to do bad things? I believe that has happened. People's minds sometimes are not always pure, and momentarily they lose the ability to discern what is positive, what's negative. And so, yes, that could be abused. But in our tradition, that we don't, we're very careful to ask people to always command the positive. You don't command a spirit to reveal which stock's going to go up tomorrow or make money on your behalf. That is just not what this is about. This is about health. This is about healing, and this is about protection. But when it comes to personal self-cultivation, invocation is a powerful way to realign your spirit to that of the higher universal truth.
Let's do it. Thank you.
Okay. All right,
Dr.
very good.
Mao,
Oh, yes.
it sounds like, if I understand you correctly, kind of what you're saying in response to Rosaline is that we're almost like we're radios. And until you learn to work your, well, this is an old-fashioned radio, until you learn to work the tuning mechanism and which kind of channel you're choosing to embody or tune into, you're really at the mercy of wherever the dial happens to land. And through invocation, it sounds like we're learning to really tune into the vibration or the station that we want in any given moment. Do I understand you correctly?
In order, just add on to that, in order to call for the right help. Because if you're out on a boat and you tune into the emergency channel for a mountain rescue, it's going to be kind of useless for you, you know. So you need to be able to know what channel to tune in and to ask for help.
And just one more question, Dr. Mao. Do you feel the word spirit is interchangeable with the more modern word consciousness? Spirit is a word that's used in many different traditions and religions, and so it can be a little confusing. But do you feel it's the same as consciousness?
Well, we actually recognize that there are spirits and immortals and, you know, all around us. And so, you know, in Christian tradition, they might call it angel, and in other traditions, it might be other. But I would say, you know, if you grew up Christian, I would ask you to, you know, maybe think about summoning angels, because I think you have a better way of relating to what we're doing with invocations. But like I said, the invocation that we're working on in this level, it's about you. It's within you. It's not outside of you. So you're not summoning angel outside of you. You are summoning the angelic spirit that you are born with within your being.
Beautifully said. Thank you, Dr. Mao.
All right, as everyone says, let's begin. So let's go ahead and find ourselves in our meditation posture. Sitting comfortably at the chair if you like, or if you're sitting on the floor, on the cushion, elevating your sit bone there. Elongate your spine, curl your tongue, and relax your shoulders. And breathe naturally as you inhale, inflate your abdomen. And exhale, deflate your abdomen. But be sure that you are completing each breath before going on to the next. And your mind should be kept as serene, but focused with an intention, but not with an intensity, so that you have this relaxed focus. Bring your awareness into your lower dantian. Now into your middle dantian. And now into your upper dantian. Open up your crystal palace to receive the light from the North Star streaming in, eliminating the darkness until it fills the entire chamber of the upper dantian, then the middle dantian, and then finally the lower dantian, so that the light is permeating throughout your entire body, out through the arms, down into your feet, the toes. And now you experience your light body, feeling oneness, connected to the source of the spiritual essence of the universe through the North Star. And now just sit comfortably, hold no thoughts in your mind, relaxed, intent. Breathe naturally for a few moments before we begin with the invocation. And as I recite these invocations, just allow the command to come through you, to allow your spirit, your inner divine, to respond to the command. Let us now begin. Divine nature of wholeness. Remove distraction from the ears and eyes to keep my energy full, my spirit whole. Keep the mind from wandering. The subtle body is like nature and heaven. It receives all and holds nothing. Divine nature of subtle integration. The mind and heart represent the fire energy in my body. Only when the mind and heart are harmonized with my body, water energy, can the correct goal of fundamental cultivation, good health, be achieved. Divine nature of peaceful mindedness, flowing smooth and free. So should my mind be kept clear of sticky impediments and keep the same innocence inside as out. This is the way to wholeness. Divine nature, perfect harmony, calm power derived from my daily practice can transform what seems to be a disaster into a blessing. Learn this, and I shall be qualified to sit in the seat of the lotus, looking deep within myself. Divine nature of equal-mindedness. To become one with Tao, there is only one requirement. Keep a consistently calm mind. Keep it peaceful, transparent, still as the water of a clear blue lake. And I will enjoy the subtlety of great bliss. Divine nature of constant subtle virtue. Stay whole, stay clean, stay firm. And in one moment, I can experience everything of Tao and become an adored child of heaven. Divine nature of original simplicity. Before touching the formed, I rest in the unformed. I obey the universal energy in order to evolve higher. Divine nature of universal trustworthiness. Follow what is right is like a stream flowing toward the ocean. Keeping my innate virtue is the true foundation of happiness. Through practicing great virtue, I can refine my personality and alter my life. Divine nature of universal mastery. When I remove all covers and obstacles right here and now, I will know the origin of my life. A long pilgrimage is not necessary to find my source. Divine nature of undefeatable plainness. The road to becoming a Shen, a divine immortal, a spiritually achieved one, is clearly marked. It is my impatience and desires that blind my own spiritual eyes. Divine nature of non-aggression. Self-discipline alone will correctly develop my divine nature. The subtle body which will manifest itself is the basis of my everlasting spirit, my Shen. Divine nature of unconditional supportiveness. The subtle power comes not just from within ourselves, but it is added as heaven, earth, and all living things work positively through me. Divine nature of pervasive harmony. Allow Tao to penetrate and it will expand, filling my body and being. My way of life will be naturally smooth and straight, wholehearted and with strong protective power. I will forsake the bitterness of life and be content within myself. Divine nature of subtle universal law. When I adhere to sacred method, cultivating myself precisely, keeping clear as to my every motive and idea, then all good, positive qualities will become firm and all traps can be avoided in my life. I then become one with Tao, unchanged even in death, as I realize the external firmness of existence. Divine nature of subtle light. The luminosity of pure mind comes only with the death of desire. As the neurotic mind quiets, the spirit comes alive, realizing an unusual, majestic light. Divine nature of total integration. I persevere in connecting with the universal light. Through it, I shall achieve the fullness and brightness within my nature. I shall experience and verify the truth of the universe myself, and thereby voyage safely around the boundless spiritual ocean. divine nature of life-giving vitalization. I'm never tired of studying life. I ceaselessly gather my chi and keep it whole. Essence, chi, and nature are the three treasures of my life. Divine nature of unaffected clarity. Unstain and empty my mind. Thus it will become a fine tool that will unite the scattered fragments of myself into one whole, so that what is may become clear. Divine nature of great silent eloquence. Tao is without color or form, yet it emerges all wonders of the universe. So subtly flows the Tao, deep within the fertile stillness, hushed within profound quietude. It is indeed the great reality. Divine nature of highest awareness. Trace back to the root of my soul, found deep within quiet reflections, and the ultimate truth unfolds itself naturally. Divine nature of honest nature. I keep my spirit untouched, my mind clear and detached, my body still and upright. All my actions have a deep respect for the original stillness of the universe. Though peacefully engaged in life, I abide in the infinite simplicity of the Tao. And now we prepare to return our chi as we bring our awareness to the upper dantian. Inhale and exhale. And now we shift our attention and awareness to the middle dantian of the chest. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Focus on the abdominal area of the lower dantian. And exhale. Gather all energy back to the lower dantian. And now you may rub your hands to bring about energy to your hands and cup them over your eyes. Okay, you can slowly open your eyes and back to you, Olivia.
Thank you, Dr. Mao. It's impossible for me to add anything meaningful. after these beautiful invocations, except to thank you for sharing this practice with us today. And I will have the recording in your library this evening, at the very least, the audio recording that you can practice with. And I'll be sending the written version to you very soon. Next year in this practice, there are Su-in, or hand and arm movements that accompany this practice. But for now, our focus will be the words and allowing these words to wash through us. And I believe that you can either listen to Dr. Mao's recording, allowing the sound to wash through you, or you can read this out loud yourself. Dr. Mao, am I correct in that?
And you can recite it over and over and over if you would, you find resonance in one invocation. Remember, these are tools, and you are invoking, commanding your own inner spirit to become enlightened and aligned with your purpose.
Thank you. So with that understanding, I would normally wait 1 week before sending you the written version so that you can have the direct experience without the tendency of our time to over intellectualize. However, with this practice, I will send you the written right away, so that in case you'd like to take one invocation or recite it yourself, you'll have that ability. All right, so thank you, everyone. Thank you for practicing. Thank you so much, Dr. Mao. Will you close our meeting, Dr. Mao?
Well, just a reminder that your words and your thoughts are powerful. And sometimes we liken it to thunder, right? So a few nights ago, we had this thunderstorm in Los Angeles, and it was wonderful because, I was sitting in my study and I heard this loud roaring and the house shook. And it was just the awesome awakening sound. And it brought my attention to within myself because, the mind wanders and become distracted. So it just kind of brought me back to my center and realize how important it is for us to cultivate our spirit, because ultimately our life is reflected by it. So take good care. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Be well, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.